All right, so welcome everyone to another deep dive.
Yeah.
This time we're going to be talking about trust and truth.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the source we're looking at for this is The Cornerstones of Connection, Trust and Truth,
Okay.
from December 16th, 2024.
Right.
And I think this is something that a lot of people, they think about trust and truth in their personal relationships.
Right.
But it really does go so much deeper than that.
Yeah, for sure.
It goes into like the workplace, society,
Totally. I mean, it's like
how we function as people.
it's like the foundation of how we connect with each other and build relationships,
Exactly.
expand, collaborate.
So like when you meet someone for the first time, or you're thinking about trusting somebody,
Right.
like how do you even,
Like, what does that even mean?
what does that even mean to trust someone?
Well, I think at its core, trust is really about believing in someone's reliability,
Okay.
their honesty and integrity.
So you're saying like do their actions?
Yeah, it's like
Match their words?
do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
Are they consistent in their behavior?
Okay, so it's not like just blind faith in someone.
No. It's definitely not blind faith.
It's like seeing them.
It's built, it's earned over time
Prove themselves.
through consistent actions and behavior.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But then what happens like when you do trust somebody?
Yeah.
Like how does that actually change the dynamic of the relationship?
Well, I think when there's trust, there's this feeling of safety
Oh,
and vulnerability, right?
you feel.
Like you can be yourself.
Okay, yeah.
You can open up, share your thoughts and feelings without fear of judgment or being betrayed.
Hide things.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
can be more authentic.
And that allows for much deeper connections.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But, there's also this interesting research that shows that even small acts of dishonesty
Uh-oh.
can really kind of erode trust,
Really?
even if they seem insignificant. Oh, wow.
It can create this ripple effect.
So like one little lie can sort of
Exactly.
poison the well.
Yeah, it kind of like plants this seed of doubt.
Oh, okay.
And it can make you question other things.
So it's not even just about that one thing. It's about like
Right.
the bigger picture.
Yeah, like it can make you wonder, well, if they were dishonest about this, what else are they being dishonest about?
Right.
And it can really damage the foundation of the relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the source that we're using here keeps kind of tying truth in with trust.
Yes.
So what is it about truth that is so important for building trust?
Well, I think truth is kind of like the bedrock of trust, right?
Okay.
It's like the foundation upon which trust is built.
Okay.
And so when we talk about truth, we're talking about an accurate representation of reality,
Okay.
free from deception or manipulation.
No BS.
Exactly. It's about being honest with yourself and with others, even when it's hard.
Yeah. And I know there's like a saying out there.
What's that? That's like, the truth will set you free, but first, it'll piss you off.
Oh, yeah, totally. I think that kind
Because
of,
sometimes it's hard to hear,
yeah.
but it's so important.
So truth can be challenging, but it does create this transparency
Absolutely.
and authenticity.
Yeah, and those are both really essential for strong connections.
And when you say transparency, like what does that look like in practice?
I think transparency is about being open about information,
Okay.
even when it might not be, the most flattering.
Right.
It's about, being clear about how decisions are made.
Okay.
And just shedding light on the process.
So like if I'm in a relationship, romantic relationship, it's like letting my partner know what's going on.
Exactly.
If it's
you
something
think that, they might not be thrilled about.
Yeah.
It's about being honest and upfront.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So how does all of this play out in different areas of life?
Right.
Like let's start with personal relationships.
How do trust and truth kind of impact those really close bonds that we have?
Well, in personal relationships, I think trust allows for a really depth level of intimacy and connection.
Okay.
When you trust someone, you can truly be yourself.
You can kind of let your guard down.
Yeah, you can let your guard down.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about being judged or rejected for who you truly are.
You can be vulnerable.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And that's really powerful,
Totally.
It creates a really strong foundation for a relationship.
Yeah. So it's like if you trust your partner,
Yeah.
you just be yourself.
Yes.
You don't have to worry about
You
it.
don't have to put on a facade or pretend to be someone you're not.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's liberating.
It is.
Yeah.
Now, how does that translate to professional settings?
Right.
Like, is trust really all that important in the workplace?
It is. I think it's actually vital.
Oh.
Yeah, because in a high trust work environment, you have things like collaboration that really flourishes. Innovation thrives, productivity soars,
That makes sense.
People feel comfortable sharing ideas,
Yeah.
taking risks, challenging the status quo.
Because they know that they're going to be
Exactly.
heard and respected.
They're not going to be shut down or ridiculed.
Right.
And I think this is especially important in today's world where, things are changing so rapidly.
Yeah.
We need to be able to adapt and innovate to stay ahead.
So you're saying that trust is almost essential
I think it's a key ingredient.
for any kind of progress in the workplace.
Absolutely.
And speaking of professional settings, I was kind of looking through the source material here,
Yeah.
and it talked a little bit about how a lack of trust can actually stifle creativity.
Oh, for sure.
Can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If you're in a workplace where you don't trust your colleagues
Okay.
or you don't trust your boss, you're going to be hesitant to share your ideas, right?
Yeah.
Because you might be afraid that they're going to steal your ideas or
Okay.
ridicule you.
Okay.
Or just not take you seriously.
Yeah, and that kind of shuts down.
Yeah, it creates this kind of fear-based environment
Yeah, that makes sense.
where people are afraid to speak up.
Right, and so it kind of creates this
Exactly.
echo chamber where it's only the people at the top.
Yeah, and it really limits the potential of the organization
Okay.
because you're not getting the full range of ideas and perspectives.
So it really does stifle innovation.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But, this goes even deeper than that, right? Because the source material also talks about trust on a societal level.
Right.
Right, how does that play a role?
Well, I think for any society to function effectively, citizens need to have a certain level of trust
Okay.
in institutions, in their leaders,
Right.
and the information that they're receiving.
It's like trusting the media,
Yeah, trusting the media,
trusting the government.
trusting the government,
Right.
trusting scientific experts.
Okay.
Because this trust is really the glue that holds everything together, right?
Okay, yeah.
It allows for cooperation,
Right.
progress, a sense of shared purpose.
So what happens when that trust erodes?
Yeah.
Especially in today's world where there's so much misinformation.
Right. Well, that's when things get really challenging.
Yeah.
And, we see this playing out right now.
Like how?
Well, the rise of misinformation
Right?
and echo chambers online
Ah.
has really fueled a lot of distrust
Okay.
in traditional institutions like the media,
Yeah.
government, even scientific experts.
So it's
And this makes it really difficult to find common ground.
yeah, nobody knows what to believe anymore.
Exactly. And it's hard to agree on basic facts
Okay.
and to work together
Right.
to address pressing issues.
So we're kind of in this
Yeah.
polarized state where it's
It's like we're living in parallel realities
Exactly.
where everyone has their own version of the truth.
yeah, and that's kind of disheartening in a way.
It is.
Because how do you even
Yeah.
bridge that gap?
Yeah, it's a big challenge.
It is.
It is.
So this kind of makes me think about my own life.
Yeah.
How much do I really trust my community?
Yeah.
How much do I really trust the systems around me?
Right. It's a good question to ask yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about the importance of trust and truth.
Yes.
But how do we actually cultivate these things?
Yeah.
What can we do to build trust and to kind of be more truthful in our own lives?
Well, I think building trust is an ongoing process.
Okay.
It starts with simple but powerful actions,
Like what?
like actively listening to others.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Showing genuine interest and empathy.
So really trying to understand where they're coming from.
Exactly. And communicating openly and honestly.
Even when it's difficult. Even when it's difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think most importantly,
Yeah.
aligning your actions with your words.
Yeah. So walking the walk.
Yes, walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Okay.
Because people can tell
Yeah.
when you're not being genuine.
So it's about being someone that people can count on.
Exactly.
Someone whose words actually have weight because they're backed up by consistent actions.
Absolutely.
Okay, but what about when we make mistakes?
Right.
We all mess up sometimes.
Yeah?
Does that mean that trust is just
No, not at all.
broken?
I think owning up to your mistakes, apologizing sincerely,
Okay.
taking steps to make amends can actually strengthen trust.
Really?
Yeah, because it shows humility.
Okay.
It shows accountability and a genuine commitment to doing better.
So you're saying it's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about being real,
Exactly.
taking responsibility for your actions.
Yeah, we're all human.
Right.
Right? We all make mistakes.
Now, in today's world, it seems like truth is just
say, under attack.
It is. Yeah.
Like with all this misinformation,
Right.
it's hard to even know what to believe.
It's a constant battle.
Yeah, so how do we even...
It's so important to develop critical thinking skills
Okay.
and media literacy.
And when you say media literacy, what do you mean?
I mean, being able to, discern truth from falsehood,
Okay.
question everything,
Right.
consider the source,
Okay.
look for evidence.
Right. So don't just stick...
Don't just take things at face value.
Yeah.
Be wary of emotionally charged rhetoric
Okay.
and really just be a critical consumer of information.
Be a skeptic.
Yes, be a skeptic.
All right. So we've got to be careful out there.
Absolutely.
So truth isn't just something that we receive.
Right.
It's something that we actually participate in.
Yes, we have to be active participants
Okay.
in safeguarding and upholding truth.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well, I think this has been a really incredible deep dive.
it has,
A lot of really interesting points about trust and truth.
for sure.
And it's clear that these aren't just like lofty ideals.
No, they're not.
These are really like
They're essential.
foundation
Yep.
of how we interact
Of healthy relationships.
with each other.
Yeah, productive workplaces, a functioning society.
It all comes back to this.
It all comes back to trust and truth.
Yeah, so as we kind of wrap things up here, I want to leave our listeners with
Oh,
something to kind of ponder.
All right.
So think back to a time when your trust was broken.
Ooh, that's a good one.
What happened?
Yeah.
How did it make you feel?
Yeah,
And what steps were taken to rebuild that trust?
right, because sometimes it can be rebuilt.
Sometimes it can.
And sometimes it can't.
Right.
So it's interesting to think about, what were the factors that determined whether or not that trust could be repaired?
That is a really interesting question.
Yeah.
And I think something that's really worth thinking about. So everyone, thank you for joining us on this little journey
Yes, thanks for joining us.
into the heart of trust and truth.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
And we hope it's maybe sparked some new ideas for you and inspired you to kind of
Yeah, cultivate these qualities
cultivate these qualities
within your own life.
in your own life.
Absolutely.
And until next time, stay curious.
Yeah.
All right, see you everyone.
Bye.